Okay, so I'll call the meeting to order at 7:10. Let's see where we are here. Alec has recorded the attendees.
Yes.
And we have a quorum.
Yep.
And the next thing on the agenda would be to approve the minutes from January 9th. So for those of us who were here on January 9th, please look at the minutes. If you don't have a copy,
I move we approve it.
you always do.
Do you have a copy, Nathan?
No, I don't.
Thank you.
Steve, I have to find a dog sitter for tomorrow. I'm going to call a friend of mine.
Yeah, I'm not sure because I'm supposed to distribute the stuff on the flyers.
No, I mean to go to the house.
Oh, to go today.
Yeah. Okay.
This should either be a new sentence or you really need a semicolon.
It's going to be fun because I'm thinking of taking a very special car with me.
And there's an object
The-
that
the
should
cool one?
be capitalized.
Question, how long does it last? Generally?
Hour and a half.
That should
Oh,
be a
that's all it
small
is?
C.
That's all it is?
Yeah, I think so. But
Oh.
it starts at 6. It should be over by.
It's sold out.
Because I can't be chipper longer than 2.5 hours.
Fake.
Okay, well, Brad has given me his corrections, which
Good enough for me.
brings up a good point. You can have good grammar or you can have good friends. Not both. Okay.
I move we accept it.
Okay, so does anybody have any other corrections? All right, so the minutes are approved as amended by Brad, with grammatical corrections.
Right.
Comments from the chair.
Yes. I have some.
Alec has a comment.
Just so we bring it up, Steve and Char and I and a bunch of people were able to get a meeting with the new director of Cal EPA. Along with that, he brought along his new director of DTSC. And I'm getting words back that DTSC management is being changed and we're in for a new group. What happened is that Blumenfeld and the director took a tour of SSFL. Along with the rest of us, we got a bus tour, and then they met with us for a full hour or more to listen to us talk about the advantages of the risk-based cleanup, the desire for not ruining the property so there could be a park in the future, perhaps a national park, and so on. And we went through the benefits, and we also mentioned the consequences of the cleanup, the background. The bottom line is that Jared Blumenfeld said they are going to enforce the AOC, which is clean up the background. No ifs, ands, or buts, that's what they're going to do. Their final environmental impact report, which lays out the program management, is in final review and should be coming out soon, which is what they said roughly a year ago. And we're still waiting. But he said that the decision has basically been made, and when we asked about it, he said it was political.
Meaning
Not
what?
science, not engineering, not anything political. So that was the bottom line of the meeting, and they left us and went off to a meeting with Dan Hirsch and the people that support Dan after that. But I just wanted to let you know that right now, as it stands, DTSC says they're going to enforce the AOC, which is clean up the background, which we have opposed for a long time. And that was the end of the meeting.
Political in what regard? What way?
The political is that all the politicians, from local all the way up to, I don't know, federal, but local and county are supporting the AOC, which is clean up the background. And they will tell you they want this total cleanup. And total cleanup is clean up the background in their minds. That's not true. The total cleanup, 95% of the soil that would be removed is not harmful. So they're going to strip the top of the mountain, they're going to move it, and we'll end up with a moonscape. And it's becoming apparent that they have no plan for how they're going to refurbish the area or reestablish the environment once this is done. So it's a bleak picture right now, but we need to keep looking and see if there's some other support, perhaps to change their decision.
Now, what will the stakeholders think about that?
The stakeholders, the ones who have an opinion, the opinion's set. And those people out there who Hirsch has been talking to for 35 years believe that the place should be scraped clean to remove all potential risk of contamination. Here's the strange thing. When you take a look at the residual risk after the cleanup, the two cleanups, the clean up the background or the risk-based cleanup, the residual risk is within 0.1%. So moving all that additional soil doesn't help you.
Now, the only reason I bring that up is because we are the first line of attack, okay, by stakeholders.
Hey guys, we need you.
We are the first line of attack. And if it's out of our hands, there are people that won't believe what we say to them. Okay? So we need to find a way, a mechanism, or information of actually putting it out there. Perhaps through an email or a newsletter or something like that, to put out what you discovered. Okay? Perhaps it can go on the website, just like you said it to us. You know, but if we don't dilute it now, we will be the first line of attack.
Yes. Agreed.
So, you know, so perhaps just like you said, with the situation as you had indicated, I'm suggesting that you write it up, not personalize it, and say just what you said. They are ignoring what we have voted. That's just my sense of things.
I'm in agreement, and I think that's what Char was saying. Char and Steve met with the staff guy for
Henry Stern, Senator Stern.
Oh,
and he's looking for a response on what happened in the meeting with Blumenfeld. I have some notes on it, and I'll put something together and get it to you,
Okay.
and then I'll distribute it
Yeah,
to the rest of the folks.
I just believe in being transparent, Alec,
Yes.
okay? And not hiding things from our residents.
Mhm.
So the more transparent we are with information, the better it's going to be for us, because what we're saying is we're supporting you, or that group of you, and we're supporting it, you know, but this is what happened, and this is what they say. And just leave it, let it go at that. That's my take on things.
I tend to agree with you. You know, we've had suggestions from Steve and also from Catherine Quinn that we should not be telling people they have the wrong opinion. And what's been suggested to me numerous times, and I think goes along with what you're saying, people should be able to express an opinion and it stands at that rather than getting into a debate.
Right.
And that's what I wanted to talk about at the end of the evening when we're looking at these suggestions. We can go research them, lay out the paperwork. There's the paperwork, both positions or three positions, and leave it up to the reader to decide. Because we've had so many battles here where they were totally illogical and very distracting from what we might be doing. So.
Yeah, we need to keep our comments totally factual. Okay, we need to keep our personal opinions out of it. And that's, that's the only way that we can approach it. That's what we need to do as board members and committee members. So, that's what we're striving to do. We've been striving to do that. I will say that John Luker, looks like it's a few days ago here, on the 11th, wrote a letter to Secretary Bloomfeld and Director Williams. And it was very well stated, his opinions. The one subject that he didn't approach in this writing was how to handle the radionuclide contamination. But and it is his opinion. It does make sense, and but like what Alex said, it was pretty apparent, even at the meeting that we went to up at Santa Susana Field Lab, that the powers that be have made up their minds already. Why they had the meeting, it was, I think, my feeling, I felt like it was just giving us an opportunity to express our feelings, knowing it wasn't going to make any difference in what they were going to do. But, we were there, we accepted the invitation, and we did the best that we could.
I think they were under some pressure because I did write to the governor and I told him what the situation was, and I requested a meeting and so forth. And I think we got the meeting. I think Blumenfeld held a meeting, checked off that box, and then he went on with his next meeting, which was with her. So I think we're all in agreement on the approach, and we just need to get started.
All right, thank you for that. So the next item on the agenda is new business, and I'll read it right off the agenda. Open meeting for community members to suggest ideas and projects that the committee should consider and undertake. Now, the concept behind this was for us to donate or to dedicate this entire meeting to having us listen to the public. And that's in response to certain accusations that have been made through the years by various stakeholders that they're not allowed to speak, that we don't listen. And of course it's untrue, but they've continued to make these allegations. And here's an open invitation for them to come. We were dedicating the entire meeting to having them speak, and as you can tell, not a single one showed up.
Was it publicized?
Absolutely. Very heavily publicized.
Okay.
So, you can take that for what it's worth. You form your own opinion. I certainly have mine. And so that said, we're going to move on to old business, which is a discussion and evaluation of the suggested projects and actions from the community members with presentation of the results in the April meeting.
I anticipated this, Steve, so I put together a list of suggestions that were made at the last meeting.
Okay, that came from the public.
Yes, it
So-
came from the public, so
let's address those.
pass those out.
We have enough for everybody?
Yeah, I got more.
Thank you.
And,
I need none.
oh, I'm sorry. So like I said, I anticipated this, and I thought that we could lay these out and perhaps expand the discussion. Going through this, maybe other ideas would jump out at us. And the first suggestion was one that Merle made, that I think was we responded to, and that is to bring some people in to discuss the impact of the Woolsey fire on the environment.
I did.
And I thought that was a good suggestion because I'd like to know where we're going with this. If the fire is a disaster and the environment's not going to come back and requires some planning, new planning and so on, I think someone should tell us professionally. So what happened was John suggested bringing in Rosie Daggett. I'm not quite sure who she is, but I think she's part of the SSMPA, Santa Susana Mountain Park Association. And I think we could bring her in and have her talk to us about the environmental impact of the fire. You know, so far, most of us have only seen it on television and not gone in to see the burned out areas or the burned out homes.
Excuse me.
Bless you.
So, I'd like that idea to, we'll follow up on that idea.
I think it's a good idea. I want to say that I have been looking around certain areas where the fire did burn through. Alec and I went on a bus tour, it was 10 days ago or so, whenever it was, of the Santa Susana Field Lab. It was just a few, it was by invitation, and there were only 4. He was only able to bring himself and 3 other people, so there were certain people who had to go. Fortunately,
Small bus.
I was allowed to go. It was just, that was the problem, is it was a limitation. I have to say that given the relationship and time between the fire and all of this immense rain that we've had, couldn't have been better, because everything's coming back. I mean, and it's coming back real fast. I mean, the areas that were completely burned down to the dirt are green already. And we're just talking a couple of months after. I mean, spring isn't even here for another week. So I think that the rain is going to definitely help the recovery from the fire as far as vegetation goes. And that's good, because that helps prevent mudslides, so on and so forth. So I think we're good there. As far as environmental issues regarding airborne contaminations and such, the preliminary reports from Santa Susana Field Lab from their air monitoring stations, I think there were 14 of them or something like that.
Yes.
One of them, something that went down and didn't report, but all of the other 13 stations didn't report any contaminant levels above normal. So, again, like I say, we don't have a final report on that yet, because it's going to take a while.
Well, I'd like to follow up on that report, because Christina brought it up and she made quite an issue out of it. It's important to distinguish between 2 things happened. One was hell broke loose. Everybody called their councilman and their senator and everything. And 8 or 9 different agencies, state agencies, county agencies, city agencies, all came out and took air samples. All came out, and all of the air samples were negative. 8, I think it was 8 agencies.
Independent testing from different agencies.
You know, we've called the health department I don't know how many times, and they don't come out for any reason. Well, they were there. They were there sampling. That's how somebody turned the pressure on. It's important to recognize that those samples were taken after the fire had moved through the SSFL. Now, going to what Steve is talking about, those are real-time samples. Those are samples that were taken during the fire. And that even more validates the findings from those agencies that we didn't see anything. So Christina's saying, well, there were only 3 samples taken in the whole site. And, you know, 8 agencies show up and only 3 of them taking a sample. I will pull out that report, we'll lay it on the table, and I think our best response is, Christina, take a red pencil and show me what you disagree with.
As I recall, Christine was not so concerned about the samples, but about the water. That I seem to remember she's talking that the fire did something to change the flow of the water. And she brought that up at our meeting.
I'm not aware of that happening.
Yeah, I think your memory is correct. The fire did damage some of the equipment that's in there for processing the water. It has since been repaired, but I think that's a good question, and I should go back and ask Boeing what happened during the fire and if they had any major contaminants coming
They
downstream.
got problems now.
Yeah, what happened was it burned some of the hay bales and such that were being used along the roadways to direct water into
But
particular
I
specific
seem to
areas.
remember her bringing that up.
Yeah, well, there was some damage to that, and that's being repaired.
Has been repaired.
Yeah, I
It's
think-
complete.
Is it complete now?
Yes.
I don't think it was when we were there, though.
Yeah.
They were still working on it. So,
Okay, I will follow up on that with Boeing. Since they are in charge of the.
And right now, they're having other problems.
Yes.
you think? The question is, should we buy the stock now?
That's what I was
Or wait?
thinking.
Because
Let
I
me
know.
Let me know.
I
thought
don't
about that
I
today.
don't know the answer. I was thinking about it all day. I don't know.
Hello, Donald. Are you going to make any more announcements? When? Okay. That was
Stock held
not.
up okay today.
That was not a nice statement. Okay, the one that I didn't understand was that the one that Bonnie brought up, and she talked about getting contamination reports from the Chatsworth Reservoir. You remember that? I'll
Yeah, I
have to go
remember
back to the tape
Yeah.
again.
I remember her mentioning it, and does anybody, do you know the history of the testing at the reservoir? I mean, I don't know when the last testing was, obviously.
I do, I do.
Because I know water does flow from the Santa Susana area, from the mountains into the reservoir area.
The testing that occurred was as a result of the development at the end of Fallbrook. I don't know what that complex is called. So when they were getting ready to build, they produced an environment report. And I read the report, and they went out and sampled in the general area, they sampled the soil, and the report came up negative. So that's probably the latest sample of the area. Perhaps we dig it out, or I'll talk to Boeing.
Well, it's good because I live a block and a half away, so.
Okay.
Alex,
Yes.
but was that sampling in the reservoir? Or
Yes.
was that, oh, they actually went,
Yes, they went beyond the property line.
they did?
Yes.
Okay, because I thought it was just there and across the street at,
I'd have to look at
Proper
it again,
point.
Char.
but I do remember the reservoir being tested, but it seems like it was quite a while ago,
Okay.
like years ago.
Yeah, it was tested years ago. I didn't realize that they had tested the reservoir in conjunction with their testing for the residential development.
Yeah, my memory might be failing me, but I thought it did cover it, and I'll try to backtrack. Okay. And then the last one was Char's suggestion to bring in agency speakers. I think I can get speakers from Boeing or from NASA or whatever, but I've gotten pushback from various people saying that this isn't much of a speakers forum, 5 of us, 6 of us, and so on. So
I was gonna say
DCSE declined coming out when I asked them. I was going to call Mark Malinowski, but he's been transferred to Northern California.
Oh, no.
Wow,
So,
Oh, wow.
wow,
Sayonara, Mark.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
but in speakers, I think we need to get somebody out from Boeing, for example, to come and talk about the surface water and the groundwater. Would be
Make it an event.
Well, what I was gonna say is, what about if we did it at a board meeting? What I think would be really, really important, because if you go back like 10 years and you look at what the agencies were telling us, I think they should do a comparison, talk about, here's where we were 10 years ago. Remember, they used to come out all the time. Dr. Weissman used to get them all the time. And then where are we today? We need that comparison, because it seems like whenever, you're in a meeting with stakeholders, they're talking about what was. And we need to know what we're talking about today.
Oh, I think that's an excellent suggestion.
We could do that at a board meeting.
And there does seem to be at least my observation, with the exception of the few very highly outspoken community members, a lack of interest, public interest in this subject. I think they're tired of hearing about it.
Yeah, I agree.
And, the attendance at this committee meeting also, I think supports that idea.
But if we labeled it as a current update, a status update, where are we today in 2019 as compared to, 10 years ago?
Part of the problem with that is I think that for us to do that effectively, we kind of sort of need to know what they're going to be doing. If in fact they're moving ahead with the AOC, that weighs very heavily on where are we today, because that's today and tomorrow is what's important, and we need to find out exactly what they're going to be doing, in my opinion.
But I don't think they know what, I don't think they know.
I think they know what they're going to do.
I think they know what they want to do
I think, yeah. But they're gonna,
politically. But that doesn't mean, especially if another suit gets filed, which it looks like it probably is, we probably have all kinds of time.
possible. But that's all part of it, is that until we know if another suit's going to get filed, this whole issue with the cleanup has very much been put on hold, even for the last 5 years. Even though we've been dealing with
because
it.
of the lawsuit.
Right.
But I don't think we should wait based on what they're not doing. I think we have to do what we have to do and just move forward.
I'd like to go back to something you said a few months ago in response to many people saying that nothing's been done.
Mm-hmm.
That simply is not true.
Right,
There have been hundreds of buildings have been removed.
that's
There are
right.
millions of pages of reports have been filed. So I think the place to start is tell us what you've done in the past 5 years.
Remember Water U? Remember when
Yeah.
they came out with the water, that whole water university thing with the power presentation? There's been all kinds of stuff done up there.
Okay. I'll follow up on that with bowling again.
Okay.
And that's what I had. Are there any other suggestions, ideas, or?
Yeah, the purpose of this meeting was for us to try to find new issues for us to address and to devote our time and attention to with this committee. Anything that has to do with the environment that would, affect the stakeholders of West Hills and surrounding communities. So if anybody has any ideas, this is the time.
I mean, I just personally think that Santa Susana Field Lab is probably #1 on the list of, if you went around and took a survey, my guess would be that would be #1 on this community's list. I mean, what's bigger than that, really?
You're right, but I have a suggestion.
Go ahead.
My suggestion is, we can't do a speaker forum here. And having a speaker forum at the board meeting, forget it, because the board meetings sometimes go on until sugarless. So,
That's
that means
I know.
safe, sugarless means the Sabbath. And, but what if Alec approached public safety, because it's a public safety issue, to do a joint event between environment and public safety, and then make it an event.
A forum?
Yeah, forum, where you're talking about SSFL. Maybe you're also talking about and bringing in some of these other issues too at the same time. So we're not isolating just one subject. In unity, there's strength. And it's not just an environmental issue, it's a public safety issue. So that's a suggestion I have.
Well,
I was just going to say, is the Public Safety Committee is planning to do a forum, but to the best of my knowledge, the exact subject of that forum has not yet been decided. So it may be on a subject that does not lend itself to Environment Committee participation, but we have to find out. So we'll have to talk to Bob Rostoff and find out.
Sandy.
Well, Bob Rostoff.
Bob Rostoff and Steve Kaling.
Well, they were going to
Well,
try to do
public
something.
safety is
That's
Sandy.
No, that's
Bob?
She's health.
yeah. She's public health.
And maybe bring that in too.
But there was also discussion, I believe between Public Health Committee and Public Safety Committee to do something jointly as well. So we will have to see if there's room for, you can't cover too many things in one forum. So they've got to find the direction that they're going to go, and then see if there's anything that this committee could contribute to that forum.
Just a thought.
No,
It's a good
let's expand on it a little bit. The thing that people in the community are concerned about is their safety and public health as a result of something that's going on over there. And I think that's a more direct approach to the residents to say, okay, we're going to talk about public safety and public health. And environmental sort of got pulled into this and doesn't have a direct responsibility to the community for public health. And I think a forum like that would be a great idea. And maybe we could participate in a lesser role because we are a lightning rod.
Yeah.
Well, that's the other reason why I suggested.
But the thing is,
You're
just
the lightning
because
rod.
it's controversial and because we're a
Do
lightning
you want to
rod,
move this chair?
sometimes things are put upon you that maybe you don't want, but you know the right thing to do is to take it. I mean, you have to do what you have to do in life, whether you want to or not, just because it's right.
Oh my.
No,
Can I coach you
don't
on that,
disagree
Sharon?
with you
Yes, you
also. I think it's
She's
a
right.
good idea. The problem is when I spoke to Sandy about this at a cancer forum, she said, absolutely not,
I know.
don't talk to me and get away from me.
Leave me
and all
alone.
those kind of terms.
I
She
know.
said never or close to never.
Right.
But I think when you start talking about public safety and public health, it gets to the heart of the issue of what is the community concerned about? Their health.
Absolutely.
And how does Dan Hirsch thrive? By questioning their health and safety.
Oh, it's scare tactics.
Yes.
It is.
So I like the idea of a public forum. Maybe we should have sort of like a subcommittee meeting with Bob and Steve and maybe Sandy. Let me see if I can set that up.
Yeah. I think the first thing would be to talk to Bob and see what direction he's planning on taking that forum.
Okay.
And I'm not sure that he even knows yet, to be honest.
Okay, well, he might be, worried about Springfest or something.
Yeah,
Okay.
currently, probably.
Yeah.
Well, we've all got stuff coming up.
I have a question
You should
too.
be
This
worried
is
about
totally
that.
off that subject, but a couple of people have been asking me about letters that should be posted on our environment committee page. I don't know. I haven't had time to really look at it. I'm not even sure what's on there, what's not on there.
Who was requesting?
You might take a guess, but.
Well, there is a lot of stuff that we should be posting.
Yeah,
to keep the
I
community up
agree,
to
just
date.
to kind of keep people up to
I wonder
date.
who it could be.
I have
No
no difficulty with that because we are open. This is a public meeting. We want to read the mail. That's fine.
We just have to be very, very careful about public perception, okay? Because as you guys know, we try to be as neutral as we can, and we still get accused of taking this position or that position. And, we have to really be very careful because the public perception is very important.
No, I agree, we can't pick and choose. But we should be posting all of the reports, like Morgenstern, NAC, Bayou, UCLA, all of those reports
Credible
should be
reports, yeah.
credible reports. They should all be on our on our committee page.
Okay,
I do think that's correct.
all right.
And that's not taking a position. We're just putting the reports, the information out there. You can read it and come to your own conclusion.
What's going to probably happen, and we have to try to figure out how to work with this, is that some of the people, some of the activists who do not trust these governmental agencies
Well,
are going to say, well, if you're putting their opinion up, then why won't you put my opinion up?
because they're
Because they're not
not,
an agency.
right, they're
I
not
know, I
they're not the
understand.
CDC.
But we need to be very careful how we approach it so that there is not a misconception.
Let's just talk about that.
They don't have the
The thing
credentials.
is,
Right, exactly.
they don't have the credentials, but they don't have anything documented. When you say, well, give me your accusations in writing, they don't want to do that. They prefer to be able to stand up in public and make accusations of all sorts.
But they're welcome to write to the agencies that issue the reports.
Absolutely,
I
absolutely.
mean, you know, it's not like we're putting up Alex's opinion or Alex's report or your report. We're putting up a report from a bona fide, credentialed agency,
That's right.
period, okay? And if they have the similar credentials and they indicate that they have the same kind of credentials, then it's another story, okay? But they don't.
So,
These are actual studies as well.
Exactly.
They haven't done a study.
yeah, as opposed to posting reports from a particular group, such as
Right.
the work group or CAG or there's nothing wrong with those groups, but
No.
those are opinionated groups.
Right.
We don't have reports from them.
No, we don't want to get into that where they're people's opinions
We did
other
this
than,
a couple of years ago, Steve. The CAG went ahead and made a list of all of the reports, and I think there are 12.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
And Abe put his opinions on the front page. But we can always pull the list out without Abe's opinions.
Right.
Say,
Right.
okay, here's the documentation. Hirsch and his people keep talking about the Morgenstern report. Morgenstern report, if you go read it, it says in the very last couple of lines, I don't have concrete information. My report basically is inconclusive.
you know,
You know, some cancers increase as you get to SSFL, some decrease as you get to SFL.
Highlighted.
Yeah, so they grafted the Cohen report as being a real great report.
Colon?
Cohen.
Colon?
No,
Like
no.
something affects our
No,
colon?
No, COHE.
Oh, colon.
yeah, that's the report you get from the doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I thought he said colon.
But he put the report together and it was a study of pathways for surface water. Nothing to do with environmental pathways. So I like the idea of posting reports and saying, well, here they are.
Exactly.
And I would also suggest, I think we should keep throwing the challenge out. Anybody who wants to come talk, they're welcome to come in, we'll make room for
I
them.
agree. I agree.
well, you know, we always have public comment period, so the public is always invited to every single one of our meetings.
I mean, I actually enjoyed the person whose name I will not say.
She must not be
Her
named.
presentation when she brought in the charts and she brought in
I enjoyed it as well.
the geography and,
It raised questions.
you know, it raised questions.
Mhm.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed her, you know, her theory about how water's running uphill instead of downhill, all of that kind of stuff.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember that either.
I want to see that.
I don't remember.
We'll invite her back for a demonstration.
Okay, but I think we need to keep challenging them. As you said at the beginning, we set this up for them and they didn't show up.
Yeah.
But, you know,
one-on-one, I
you-
stopped at Melissa Bumstead on the bus tour. I said, Melissa, we're having this meeting, please come. She said she would consider it. Well, obviously.
But she considered it.
Yeah.
And she considered not showing up.
Right.
It's like what I said to you as we walked here. The only time they show up is when they see something on the agenda that they want to talk about or they have an idea about. But to ask them to come here and to throw out the subjects, I just feel, my heart tells me, it's not something that they're used to doing.
Well, there's another issue, and it's a kind of a bigger issue. I have one particular stakeholder who's not happy with me.
Who's that, Steve?
Only one?
One in particular
I'm kidding.
who
Like that, Steve.
who made a specific comment to me in writing, in an email, claiming that he says, you don't do anything, you haven't done anything because you haven't gotten the Santa Susana Field Laboratory cleaned up. And, you know, part of the problem
She handed you a broom.
is that, and this is a gentleman,
Oh.
and part of the problem is that, for the most part, the public doesn't understand what our
Correct.
what we do, how we function, what we can accomplish and what we can't. We do
Correct.
not make laws. We cannot force governmental agencies to do cleanups. We can only, the purpose of a neighborhood council is to bring the public closer to city government. That's the stated purpose when the NC system was established. And in doing so, we listen to our stakeholders and then we relay the opinions of the community to our city councilman, who takes it to the LA City Council. And hopefully it carries some weight there. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. They don't realize what our limitations are. And I don't think they realize how hard we work.
But you can't change that.
No, but without making the public aware of what we can and can't do, and many of you may have seen my posting that I made on Facebook about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I did address that issue, I mentioned it.
You addressed it very well, too, by the way.
And it was interesting that you have to know how many hundreds of people read that posting. Very few people actually commented, okay? And the people who are the loudest complainers about that we don't do anything didn't have a word to say. So, you know, I mean, in some respects, we're fighting an uphill battle.
Wow.
But we have to get the word out to the public, what this council can and can't accomplish, and what we're trying to do. And we do represent them, and we do want to be a voice for the community. And that's really what we're supposed to do, and that's what we do.
Nor do they understand the work we put in.
No,
Yeah,
they don't.
that they don't.
That's the biggest issue. They don't understand the work we put in, okay?
Yeah, no, that's true.
And not just the thinking involved, but the actual physical work.
Yeah, no, they don't. Nobody has a clue. I put in 40 hours a week.
I don't think anybody realizes, including us, what effect we really have. You never know
We don't.
what effect you are having out there.
Sometimes we're lucky enough.
Yeah, sometimes something really great comes out of
You
something.
remember that one time we went to a meeting? We went to a meeting at City Hall.
Yeah.
I believe you went with me.
Uh-huh.
And Mitch Englander,
Oh, yeah.
Mitch Englander already had made up his mind how he was going to vote
That
on
was
it,
a zoning
on a
issue.
zoning issue.
That's right.
And somehow, I don't know how we
He came
managed to
down
use,
off the
we
dais.
got him to
Right.
motion to. He left his desk.
We didn't even motion him. He left on his own.
Did he?
Because we were walking out the door. We were a little upset.
Yeah.
And he came and stopped us at the door.
Well,
Remember?
no, we weren't at the door. We were in the aisle, on the side
Oh, we
aisle.
were leaving.
But anyway, he came and he gave us an opportunity to talk to him. And we knew what his position was, and he told us what his position was. We talked to him. He proceeded to go back up, and we were there. We were still,
And he
changed his position after talking to us. So we know in that case,
Right.
that's like instant gratification.
Yeah.
We know that we had some effect in that specific instance. But you're right, we generally, a lot of times we don't know, or, you know, we express the opinion of speaking on behalf of the community to the best of our ability to represent what the community wants, and sometimes it goes their way and sometimes it doesn't. And, you know, we don't have any control over that. We can only do the very best that we can.
You just have to do the work.
One of the things that's happened over the past couple of years is that we have stopped having presentations during the council meeting. So we sit there and we hear from the police, we hear from the librarian,
Yeah,
we hear
it's
from
taken a different direction.
you know, by that time, 45 minutes has passed and we're all, and then we go into the community impact statements. But there is, I agree, I don't see is how someone could gauge the amount of work that has gone in from the way we present it today.
Well, you know, I think to some degree, and this really comes under the Communications and Outreach Committee, in my opinion, that a lot of agencies, and the police department does it, the Los Angeles Police Department does this, where they tell the public what they've accomplished in the past month, or the past 6 months, or the past year. We need to do that as well. Okay, and it's very, very important, and the Communications and Outreach Committee has to do this. We need to do it on our website, we need to do it in social media, and that's a very important thing. We've discussed it before. And then also, going back to what Alex said about the meetings, we have the ability to change what we cover in the meetings. So, you know, I do like the brief updates from each committee. I think that's good because it not only gives the public an opportunity to hear what the committee has done in the last month, but it gives the rest of the board an opportunity to hear what each committee has done in the past month. Because unless you go to a committee meeting, you don't know.
That's
And
true.
as we know, most board members go to maybe, 2, 3, 4 committee meetings out of the 14, you know, including all the ad hocs and stuff. So I do like that, but it does take some time. But if we want to go back to presentations at the board meetings, we can do that. But
I'll withdraw that suggestion. I like the idea of the committee's reporting, but I don't think it should be a hurry-up conversation. Hurry up, we've got 3 minutes to go, you're done, we've got to get to the librarian. What?
yeah, you know, there's certain, well, listen, why don't we bring this up at an operations meeting?
Operations meeting, yeah.
Because that's the right forum for it. And whoever wants to bring that up or discuss it, just have your thoughts organized and be prepared. And we have an operations meeting coming up in 2 weeks or something.
Next week,
is it
is it next week? I don't even
It's
know.
either next week or the week after. It's usually,
Next week.
Next week.
yeah. So we
Tuesday.
can, you know, so we can bring it up. Whoever wants to bring that up, and just, you know,
Well, Steve, you're co-chair, you bring it up.
it was your suggestion.
Are we done?
I don't want to take credit for your ideas.
Except Dan crosses his legs when I speak.
Well, you
I
know,
don't want
listen,
to comment on that one.
you're going to, but you'll have support from other people there, and
I don't know if you're big with you.
Yeah. You might want to end this now.
We support you as we push you forward.
do you come to the
Yeah.
operations meetings usually?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, just,
I missed the last one.
yeah, but yeah, you had a good excuse for not being there. So, yeah, so let's do that, and, because that's the right place to discuss that.
I have one question. A lot of the things that you guys discussed today was on the Santa Susana area. So I'm wondering, the people over there are more concerned than people living over here,
Yeah, the
right?
people living closer to it.
All right.
Yeah.
So, and it's a pretty long drive from there to come here. So I'm wondering if that would be an issue.
7 minutes.
Is it
Yeah,
just
it's
that?
not that far.
No, even the people that live up there at the,
Right down Valley
at the
Circle.
trailer, I don't want to call it a trailer park, but whatever you want to call it,
Trailer
Mobile
park.
home.
mobile home park, yeah. They, you know, they could be here in less than 10 minutes. They just go down the hill and, you know, we're just a couple minutes away after they're down the hill. But, you know, they're concerned, we know they're concerned, but there seems to be a lot of, can't think the word of, the public just, they want everybody to do the work for them. They don't even want to come out and say anything, but they'll sit at their computer and complain. You know, but, you know, the public has to tell us what they want us to do.
No, I understand.
I mean, they elect us, and we are elected to represent them. And unless we know what they want us to do, then we can't represent them the way we should and know what we're supposed to, you know, what their positions are. And we do try to find out what their positions are. You know, somebody asked me, how do you know what the public wants? And this was like a week
Well,
ago.
we just
about a year
heard.
ago. Or it was on Facebook or something. And I said, well, I talk to the public. You know, I watch postings on social media. I talk to individuals. You know, we have meetings and the public comes to meetings and that's how I find out. Do I know what the public wants that doesn't come to a meeting or speak up? No, I don't know what they want because they don't talk.
Right.
So, you know, I know what the public wants, the ones that are care enough to speak up. And that's how we can.
There was a comment about one of the active shooter posters. Somebody said, the solution to this is to carry a gun.
That's
Plain sight.
great.
I said, why don't you come to the meeting?
It does work.
Come to the forum and bring that up.
It does work in some states, though. It actually does work in some states.
Come to the forum and bring that up.
Then we would have more active shooters.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the active shooting
Gunfire.
thing is becoming a weekly incident now, occurrence in the country, and
Yeah, and I didn't realize until today that it takes them a long time to investigate it.
oh yeah.
Because I tried to get a survivor or a respondent from Borderline and talked to the sheriff's department, or Kathy did, and she was told, listen, we're still doing there's an open investigation,
Can't talk.
so we can't talk about it, you know, so.
Okay, well, that's,
Okay, so I think,
given me a number of assignments.
Yeah.
And,
does anybody have anything
Yeah.
else that they think
Yes.
we should be discussing before I adjourn the meeting?
The rash I had?
Well, yeah, we'll talk about that later.
Alec, could I just add one thing?
Sure.
I mean, I do remember that whenever two things seem to really bring people to these meetings, either somebody from one of the agencies speaking, or we have something on the agenda that they know we're voting on that has to do with Santa
True.
Susana.
True.
So it's the same with zoning. You know, when you really get the people there is when you have something on the agenda that people are concerned about. So I mean, as much as we don't want to do it, it is the draw and it is what matters.
Okay,
Okay, are we done?
we're good.
I think we're done. Let's adjourn the meeting. It's 8:02.